Hey everybody, welcome back to the MinMax challenge. The challenge where I get to suffer and you just get to watch. I am still somewhat sick, but I am doing way better now. At least I am not suffering a constant headache like before. The first thing on the agenda is Alriune. With Alriune we encounter this weird problem where, because of our strategy, which is still just sacrificing a pawn to get 3 strength, because one of my nuggets dies, one of the children of the earth will get revived, so we're gonna have to deal with 4 of them. This makes managing the fight a bit awkward because they have some really nasty effects I don't particularly want to get rolled by. And Alriune themselves can also exert some pressure that I don't really want. Thankfully, unlike the lobotomy counterpart, in Ruina this fight is just regular annoying. Mainly because only one of your nuggets can actually damage Alriune, so all the others usually just get to, I don't know, be cheerleaders. It doesn't help that I kind of forget what Alriune's passives do halfway through the fight. Remember kids, you can save more brain cells by just ignoring most of the passives and only read them when you're actually losing. This is definitely the way you should play these games. It certainly won't end up just ruining the entire package for you.
To bridge the silence, I'm just gonna read some comments to you.
So about Tifsodia. My usual setup page for Tifsodia is PT because PT. And PT is kind of broken actually in this, and not in the good way. Her passive manipulative odds doesn't work with the MinMax mod and just rolls regular. So guess this run will have to go without PT. Yippee! In case you're wondering, Library of Babel is like a conversion mod, Kaizo-esque, like less easy Runa. Not in the near future. And I don't even know if that'll land on YouTube, but I'll sure to try it eventually when I feel like getting the Runa itches again. I did not realize the irony of the previous strategies that I've been using. I would like to send in a sincere apology to Mr. Roland. No, that's a weak mindset. We should kill people that we don't like. Especially when they're called demonic. This comment is in regard to my comment about how Kim is a Limbus ID. There's actually more Limbus IDs in this. This doesn't really mean a lot, by the way, it's just kind of like a blank term for me to use for a specific kind of key page. But if you feel brave enough to figure out what I actually mean by it, go and tell me what the key pages Kim, Ye, and Philip have in common. Who is going to be worse? None of them. They're both scripted fights. And by scripted, I mean highly vulnerable to the firing squad, so you know what's gonna happen. That's all the comments I can stomach for today. Keep them coming. I'll read them, probably. Yeah. Okay, so I've been testing out stuff for the sweepers, and I've come to the conclusion that Netzach is probably the only one who can actually do this. Even on pierce resistance, they still deal like either too much damage or too much stagger damage, and I just couldn't manage. There are 3 ways to basically deal with trash disposal. The first one, and the most obvious one, would probably just be to have counter die and just, you know, mow down all those 4 dice. The problem with that is my counter die would have to roll in the double digits, which is easier said than done. The second method would be to just get lucky with paralysis, and then they just don't activate their recycle. Doable, but also pretty luck dependent, because remember, the page has 4 dice. And lastly, the most, well, pragmatic way to deal with trash disposal would just be to just eat it. And it just so happened that Netzach's floor is perfectly equipped to deal with this. My final build to tank these trash disposals is basically this. Eugene with sharp nails to recover stagger, laughing powder to recover stagger on hit, and our newly acquired autumn passing to inflict stagger damage to everybody. I can also just use Pebble to keep healing my HP. And honestly, from there on, it's just a matter of time until everybody just collapses from touching Eugene's hot body. I was waiting for this fight to go over Alriune's pages because you're gonna see them in action here. First and foremost, Flower Petals is just really good. In combination with Laughing Powder, it can make one of your nuggets just insanely tanky, all the while just dealing big stagger damage to everybody. It is obviously a lot less effective on Eugene because of her massive HP pool, but on some of the just regular key pages, it's like I said, it's just very effective. It also pairs really well with Autumn's Passing, which is basically just stagger reflect damage, but with extra steps. I've made an entire video on Spring's Genesis and stealth in general. Spring's Genesis is way too overpowered, so I have to ban it in pretty much everything I do for Ruina. Unfortunately, I am forced to pick Spring's Genesis as my tier 3 page, because I just don't have another one. However, I will make sure to just never activate the effect. Anyway, once I have my setup complete, this fight basically boils down to just smashing Eugene's face into a meat grinder over and over until I've won. This goes on for the next half an hour, so let me just skip ahead a little. Funny how you can turn the thing that was giving you problems into an advantage. Gentlemen, I present to you the star of the show for today, Netzach. This floor is by no means a one-trick pony. For example, we can combine Eugene's massive HP pool with Teardrop to create a walking nuke. And the first fight against the Index proxies is the perfect example of this working. The bomb deals 60 true damage. What this effectively means is that I just have to get all the proxies on 60 HP or below and then drop the bomb. In a regular Pokemon trainer battle, usually you just faint if you and your opponent run out of Pokemons. But in Ruina, if there's no enemies alive, we win. No matter how our librarians are doing at the moment.
For reasons that should probably be very obvious, I can only use this at the end of a reception, really. Thankfully, this fight is only one act, so let's go. With the Book of the Index acquired, I can now finish Malkuth's floor. If given the choice, I'd probably never ever use Malkuth's floor on any reception, so really it would have been smarter to do the story reception first, especially for charge, because then I can get some sustain for these longer fights. But what I didn't tell you about the sweepers is that I had to re-record them, so, you know, another half an hour down the drain, I guess. And I didn't even get Lila's key page in both attempts. Anyway, Queen Bee is usually pretty cheesable. I lobbed the full stop team at it and it didn't work. And it probably could have worked if I tried a bit more. But honestly, this fight isn't even that bad, so I'll just approach it semi-regular. An issue that I have with Malkuth's floor right now is that she just doesn't have the power gain that I need. In a regular playthrough, Malkuth's floor is perfectly serviceable. However, in this scenario, she is not very good. Like, at all. Loyalty, which is a page that I would get from this fight, is kind of a solution to the power gain issue. I just don't have the tools to make it work. The same could be said for the other two pages, Spores and Worker Bee. As funny as Malkuth's floor is, I just cannot see her be that useful, unfortunately, even with ego. Let's wrap up the fourth history for now. At this point I'm just stalling so I don't have to do puppets. So this fight is not very difficult. And it only really just starts at phase 3. So I'm just going to skip you ahead to there. In this realization, they are nice enough to give us some stagger in between phases, so I don't have to run Mind Hauler. Also, up until Hod's realization, Angela will live at 1 HP in between phases. This means I can get all my econ pages in for free. The real meat of the fight starts at phase 3, which in normal runs is also very easy. But for this run, the issue is that if she eats any of her bug friends, she will gain 2 strength permanently, and that makes her dice rather dicey. Ha. In this phase, I try to kill all the little bugs by scene 2, but I run into the unfortunate issue that I'm bad at basic arithmetics, and I miscalculate and let one live. Which gives her 2 strength, which is bad, but it's still manageable. Thank Kim's massive die power. The problem with giving her any amount of strength is that she has trash disposal on steroids, by which I mean not wing beat.
So remember when I picked Display of Affection at the very beginning of the fight? Turns out that's a blunder, because for whatever reason, mass attacks are considered one-sided. So Kim just loses 2 die power on every mass attack. That's awesome.
And that is the Floor of History maxed out. There's no point in me going over all the ego and Abno pages because it will be the last time we'll see it in action until I see, so moving on. I really wish I had things to say about the puppets, other than just, we're gonna tank the damage and then just slowly globber them to death. But there really isn't much to say. My strategy for this fight is basically get some cheeky hits in with Kim, because these puppets are vulnerable to slash, and then just take them out one by one. And when given the chance at the end, I'll just blow up Eugene and call it a day. I am purposely not going to skip anything in this fight because I want you to just take in this wonderful wall cuisine.
Oh yeah, there is actually one last thing I should mention. I grinded out some stagger-related battle symbols for the entire floor. Not every symbol, because I have grinded too many symbols in my lifetime, and using a mod given to me is cheating.
if you're hearing this, that means you're not actually just skipping through the fight. I once got this comment that says I should like upload all my footage raw because YouTuber voices are annoying and first and foremost wholly based. And second of all, no. I know that they mean, you know, just the gameplay footage. No voice lines, no audio tracks other than the game. But in the raw footage, I actually do still keep the voice chats that I'm in. And if I were to ever release the raw footage of my recordings, I would get instantly cancelled. It would be the equivalent of the cataclysmic event of leaking the boys' DMs, which I would never. Oh, I didn't give Eugen any passives. Whoops.
Okay. The W Corp crew. Overcharge hurts. There's about nothing I can do to counter overcharge. It is just a massive explosion going up in my face. And of course, they also have a activation chance for true damage and true stagger damage. There's also Ripple. And while it usually is a pretty mediocre page because Forceful Gesture exists, this one hurts. In some good news, their other pages aren't really anything to write home about, and they don't roll that high in comparison to everything else. As you might imagine, this fight boils down to luck, because they could just activate their passives a billion times and there's nothing I can do about it. This fight basically encapsulates Urban Nightmare. Some bullshit high rolls that I can't roll, infinite damage that I can probably tank with Netzach, using Rembrandts to get strength, and then blowing up Eugene in Act 2. And if for some reason they survive the bomb in Act 2, I still have a firing squad ready to go to clean up everything that's left over.
Oh look, all the named key pages all have a unique combat page that also rolls sky high.
Because that's what I needed. I attend a funeral, and I make quick work out of him because Singular Strike is just really good. I'll go over his pages once we do the realization. Pinocchio gave me a lot more trouble than I'd like to admit. This is also the only fight so far where I've been able to use to claim their bones. Not even all that effectively, mind you, just because I couldn't withstand the serotonin button. As far as Ablo pages goes, he drops Lice and Curiosity, which is a good combo to have for normal people that aren't me. And then there's Learning, which occasionally breaks the game. Just occasionally though. Whoa, Queen of Hatred jump scare. I try to full stop her by using the true stagger damage from the puppets. I also slap on the W passives and just pray that they activate so I can just cheese her and not have to deal with her at all. While resetting 10 million times, I also just so happen to encounter this really funny glitch that keeps the screen shaking. I eventually get lucky enough with procs and page draw, and I just kick her ass really quick.
이것도 아니고.
Somehow, Knight of Despair is actually harder than Queen of Hatred in this challenge. The difficulty stems from only having 2 nuggets to be able to take care of 3 swords. What is even worse, the percentual damage that they inflict is massive on Yujin. So, they can kill Yujin really quickly. Take all of that, and of course I can't one-cycle this fight because of my lack of damage. And if that's not already enough, Kim decides it's awesome to keep breaking his deck. To fix that, I put cycle leaps on him, and that would work if I were able to draw the pages that I actually need. A few heartbreaking resets later, I get this run and I win. This is the point where I would talk about the abnormality pages that Tifereth has, but I don't know what they do. I don't use this floor a lot, and by a lot I mean like ever. So I do not have the qualifications to talk about the pages yet. The only thing I know how to set up on this floor is Nyx, and that's about it.
With the gamer goth girl defeated, I am now a star of the city. Finally, we're out of the scrublands and I get to play the Ruina that I actually like. Let's just take a quick peek to see what is awaiting us.
Ah! Stop
thank
falling
God.
so fucking high with your stupid ass speed die. I'm losing my marbles. And then he dies from burn and I don't get his emotion coins. Zero damage, zero damage, zero damage. I'm not gonna expend any of my charges. I'm maxim. I fucking hate right now.